the house on them. Gold grill in the mouth on them. From the mill went south on them. New deal, switch styles on them. New wheels, put some miles on it. Got the girls going wild on me. Fell in love, then I bounced on them. Heating up in the clouds on them. Taking the rock and I run with it. Just know that your boy gonna come for you. This how I handle my biz. Whew. I got a family and kids, yeah. I ain't got time, been on my grind. Don't even try, boy. I call right now to all my guys, some on some wines, boy. Heating up, heating up, heating up, heating up.
Hey Sens fans, welcome to our first ever Sens 360 playoff preview show. Jackson Starr alongside TSN 1200 color analyst Gord Wilson. Gordo, good to have you back on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
It's going to be awesome.
Tingle in the air here.
Well, there you go. Can't wait to get going. We'll talk all things Sens in the playoffs. Battle of Ontario coming up for the first time since 2004, and we'll take a look at what got the Sens here to this point early on in the season and throughout the entirety of it, getting to their first playoff berth since 2017. We'll get right into it with a look at the playoff picture first in the Eastern Conference. A close race in the Atlantic right up until Tuesday, but the Leafs coming out with the #1 seed in the Atlantic Division, and Washington an impressive year atop the Metro Division. The Devils and the Hurricanes also facing off once again in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I think everybody's been rightly seeded so far. It's been a fun season. It's been a very competitive season. I think everybody anticipated that anybody can win on any given night, and as a result, if you can stay moderately consistent, you're going to end up in a playoff spot, and I think those who are in have done just that.
Absolutely. And on the Western Conference side, close race in the wild card for the West right up until the finish. The Flames fall out in the end. The resurgent Blues able to stick with that playoff spot, and the Minnesota Wild as well holding on to that wild card spot.
Well, two stories for me that come out of the West, and that's the consistency of the Winnipeg Jets and the resurgence of the St. Louis Blues. What was it, a 14-game heater that got them back into the race, and then getting into the race and staying there is another thing, and they've managed to do that as well.
Absolutely. So a couple tight races on both ends of the spectrum in the West and Eastern Conference. Now take a look at the playoff bracket going into the first round, starting once again with the Western Conference. The 2023 Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights going up against the Minnesota Wild, a team that has gotten Kaprizov back in the lineup. Definitely an X factor going into that series.
Yeah, without question. The other X factor is experience, and Vegas certainly has that, doesn't it? Don't they? So, yeah, it's if you're looking for a prediction, I think Vegas is the odds-on favorite, certainly in my books.
Absolutely. The next one, of course, the annual ritual of Kings versus Oilers in the first round. This year, can the Kings take the Oilers down?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
In one
Blunt.
word, yes, they can. The Kings are a very good hockey team. They're a heavy team. They've played that brand of hockey all season long. They're not going to get rid of their style of play. The Edmonton Oilers will be in tough, without question. And it's been an inconsistent second half of the season, I think, for Edmonton. So, my money's on LA finally getting through.
There you go. And once again as well, the aforementioned President's Trophy winning Jets going up against the resurgent St. Louis Blues, a good series, and a star-studded series as well in the Dallas Stars going up against the Colorado Avalanche. Lots of big matchups and exciting matchups in the Western Conference. On the Eastern side, the Hurricanes and the Jack Hughes-less Devils, an interesting series in the 2-3 in the Metro Division.
Yeah, absolutely. Carolina has been a consistent team. They play the same way every night. They're on their opponents, the New Jersey Devils. Without Jack Hughes, it's a serious loss. Dougie Hamilton, we don't know if he's going to be available for postseason play. It doesn't look like he is. That, too, is a serious blow to any chance that they would have against a pretty healthy Carolina team, and a very consistent one at that.
And the Montreal Canadiens making the playoffs, facing off against the Washington Capitals. The Habs, that is, able to hold on to that wild card spot despite the oncoming push from Columbus.
Yeah, you know what? Every year we talk about the potential of an upset, and with the way the Montreal Canadiens got themselves into postseason play, Martin Saint-Louis in the talk for Coach of the Year, or he's certainly in that conversation. He's just done a marvelous job with the youth of that team. They're getting fabulous goaltending. The Washington Capitals, I know, kind of cruised into postseason play. Their goaltending not as good as it was and consistent as it was, but boy, oh boy, they're just an outstanding team from top to bottom. But is there an upset in the making?
We'll see. And on the other side of things, the Battle of Florida once again in the Lightning and the Panthers, and of course the series we're all focused on, the Battle of Ontario between the Sens and the Leafs. Two good series in the Atlantic Division this year.
Yeah, you know, I was doing my homework on Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago and just looked at my charts and thought, this is the team that may be representing the East. They've just got so much depth. Andrei Vasilevsky, the big cat in goal, is, I think, having a career year. His numbers speak for themselves. The players voted him as the best goaltender in the National Hockey League in a player poll. I think they're an extremely dangerous team. And I think, you know what, time is catching up to the Florida Panthers. They've almost played too much hockey over the last 3 years.
Yeah, a lot of hockey for the Panthers. We'll see if it wears on them. Going to be an electrifying series in that one, much like it will be right up here at CTC, the Sens and the Leafs going at it for the first time since 2004. We'll take a look back on what got the Sens to this point, a couple key moments throughout the entirety of the season to get to the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Travis Green has highlighted the struggles in November as a key learning experience for this group and an area where they saw a good amount of growth going into the rest of the year and one of the best records in the NHL from December 1st onwards as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that month of November. Yes, growth this year, but the growth extends beyond this season. It's good from the past, right? They've had terrible Novembers. There's that old adage, you can't win a Stanley Cup in the months of October and November. But you can lose the chance to play for it in those months, and the Senators in the past have done that. November looked like a scary month. From previous experiences, it's pretty clear that the Senators, after a not-so-good month of November this year, realized enough is enough.
Absolutely, and the stretch after December, that is, has been kind of catapulted by two six-game winning streaks. First in December, propelled by some strong Linus Ullmark performances both at home and on the road in that stretch in December to get the Sens back towards where they want to be at that point in the season.
Yeah, the goaltending was absolutely huge, and Linus elevated his play, which in turn, I think created the opportunity for everybody on the team to just feel confident about their game. That was the turning point, I think. Certainly the month of December when everything came together. The scoring was there, but most importantly, this team really did buy into what Travis Green and his coaching staff were selling. This is defense-first mentality. We've got to win games. We've got to take the attitude of winning a game 2-1. If we can get 3 or 4 goals, that's great, but prevent the goals from happening, and the Senators throughout the month of December and on have done just that.
Absolutely, and after maybe a little bit of a lapse in February going on the road against the two Florida teams, coming back and in March, another 6-game winning streak propelled by the final of that 6-game winning streak being March 15th in Toronto, a 4-2 win, which we will get to against the Maple Leafs, but a big 6-game winning streak as well in the later half of the season.
Well, you need, if you're going to have success throughout the course of a season, you need top players to be at their best, and certainly after the Four Nations tournament, Ottawa's best players came to play. Brady Tkachuk, it was a coming out party for him at the Four Nations. I think just as importantly, Jake Sanderson showed to the world that he is a top defenseman in the National Hockey League, if not the world here. And again, consistency as far as goaltending is concerned. And then you had, with all due respect, some of the lesser lights coming through. Michael Matteo found his game. Most importantly to me, David Perron really did hit his stride. It was it was against Nashville, I think, when he had a goal and an assist, and from there his game just took off.
Absolutely. 7 goals in the month of March for David Perron as well. And you mentioned the goaltending. It's come from Linus Ullmark, it's come from Anton Forsberg, but overshadowed maybe a little bit in the end of the day is Levi Merilainen. A very, very strong season for him, coming up with the big club and picking up big victories in big games for the Sens down the stretch when Ullmark was injured this year.
And doing it in such a calm fashion for a 22-year-old rookie goaltender to have the numbers that he had. I mean, they were pressure situations for Levi, and for him to be able to come in. What was his final numbers? 8-3-1, 3 shutouts on the year here. Everybody had a belief that when he was in the nets, nothing would change, and that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely. And on that note as well, just a resilient group. We kind of highlighted a little bit. Comeback points, coming back against Boston in January. Washington down 3-0 on the road to grab a big point. Shows resiliency of this group as they've gone along throughout the entirety of the year.
Yeah, without question. That Boston game, the 6-5 shootout victory, they were down late in the hockey game. They get an unexpected goal from Nick Jensen, of all players, but you know what? It propels them to a victory. They get the opportunity, and again, big players play in big moments. And that overtime loss or shootout loss to the Washington Capitals was Brady Tkachuk scoring in the final minute and a half of the hockey game to tie things up. They were down 3-0 in that game and found a way to get a point.
Yeah, you mentioned Brady Tkachuk. Many big goals for him on the year, right? What can be said? You mentioned him at the Four Nations, but overtime results for the Sens throughout the entirety of the year, and just being the captain and the leader of this group, showing that throughout the entirety of the year.
Yeah, his actions spoke louder than his words, but his words rang true here because he came back from the Four Nations tournament and said, we are treating every game like it's Game 7. And that's how he played. And it's a follow me over the cliff mentality when you've got somebody doing what he's saying that he's going to do, right? And everybody jumped on board because of what Brady was doing saying.
Absolutely. Another piece of all that also, Jake Sanderson. You kind of mentioned him, but once again after Four Nations, amplifying his game and picking it up to be that number 1 guy on the Sens blue line.
Just a treat to watch. Game in, game out, made very difficult plays look rather easy, and I know Jake will tell you they're not easy, but he just makes them look easy. A real good coming out party for him as well. 22 years of age, and the future looks very, very bright. He will be in those NHL Player Association polls as one of the top 3 defensemen in the league. I guarantee it.
There you go. From Gord Wilson. Well, we'll take a quick break and then look at the playoff matchup coming up. The Battle of Ontario, the Sens and the Leafs on the Sens 360 Playoff Preview Show. Welcome back to the Sens 360 Playoff Preview Show. Jackson Starr alongside Gord Wilson, and we'll get right into the nitty-gritty. The playoff series, round 1 presented by Bell between the Toronto Maple Leafs and your Ottawa Senators.
Can I just interrupt and
Go for it.
Start with 2 words? Woohoo!
There you go. Can't wait for it. Cannot wait. We'll start with the season series between these two teams, a series that has kind of been controlled by the Ottawa Senators 3-0 through this season against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and just strong performances throughout. Close games, but strong performances from the Sens in those contests. Yeah,
big moments, obviously, right? A couple of games in Toronto and 1 here, and the Senators were able to come through with all 3 victories. What are they now, 5-0 in 5 straight games? regular season games. It's a different animal, obviously, in postseason play. But I really do think with the 3 victories in regular season play and how the Senators went about it, they've got a confidence, an inner confidence here. And we've heard Travis Green down the stretch of this regular season say an awful lot of times, how much his team believes in a matchup against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Absolutely, and they have fared well. We'll go through each game. First, back on November 12th, a 3-0 Sens win in that one. Linus Ullmark with 27 saves in the shutout in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a textbook defensive-style hockey game from Ottawa. This is what you want to have, and it was at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. And when you've got an opportunity on a big stage, Saturday night hockey night in Canada, and you rise to the occasion, and that's exactly what happens. Anytime there's a team shutout, and the Senators led the league with 10 of them, you're firing on all cylinders, basically, offensively, defensively, and especially in goal.
Absolutely. A big performance and a big win there for the Sens. January 25th, a 2-1 Sens win. Back here at Canadian Tire Centre, the Leafs' lone visit on the year to CTC, and a big goal from Shane Pinto with the winner in the third period.
Well, right, and it's a low-scoring game, and we talked about this earlier in the show here. The mentality has to be you don't want to get in a run-and-gun game with the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? But if you have to, you need guys to shut players down. More specifically, you'd prefer a 2-1 game and you be on the right end of that score, and that's exactly what happened. And the right guy scored, right? A guy that's shutting down the other team's big players in Shane Pinto, and he rises to the occasion with a game winner.
Absolutely. It's going to be a key going into the series as well. Anton Forsberg also making 28 of 29 saves in that 2-1 win. That was when Linus Ullmark was down with an injury. Next one, March 15th. Again, the tail end of that second 6-game winning streak for the Sens, a 4-2 victory in Toronto. And the Leafs had come into that game losing 5 of their last 6 as well. So tale of 2 streaks going into that contest, and a big win for the Sens, trailing 1-0 and 2-1 in that game
Excuse me, I was just going to bring that up. William Nylander scores his 37th of the season, I think, early in that hockey game, and it's a 1-0 Toronto lead. And usually on home ice, the 1-0 can be a lock it down, but the Senators, again, found a way. They were able to create some offense, and I think it was Jake Sanderson who got the offense started in that hockey game.
Yeah, what a shot that was. And then David Perron also getting a big goal to make it 2-1, and the Sens again, or to get the Sens back at even after trailing 2-1 in that game, I should say. Also, 6 different goal scorers for the Sens against the Maple Leafs on the season, and that depth is going to be key going into this series.
Absolutely it is, because Toronto has it, right? Yep. So they got 4 different players who can put the puck in the net, and the Senators are going to need depth scoring without question.
Absolutely. That'll take us right into the top performers against the Leafs so far on the season. Tim Stützle with 2 goals and 1 assist. Again, that translation to playoff hockey for a guy like Stützle, going to be interesting to see how he fares against this Leafs team.
Well, as competitive as they come, right? It's, how much fun are you looking to see Brady, unleash the beast in Brady, but Tim Stützle as well. Watch him rise to the occasion here. The interesting part about some of these young players is they've all been on the big stage before, World Junior Championships, wherever it might be, and they've all been the best on their team representing their countries. Now it's a different animal, obviously, but you have to believe that Stützle, Tkachuk, the others are just going to be able to, again, rise to that occasion.
Absolutely. You see it on the list as well. Big points from Artem Zub, Thomas Chabot, 3 assists, Zub with 2 assists, just getting help from all different areas of the lineup. One area that kind of was questioned for the Sens at certain points was that offense from the back end, something that has been elevated as the season's gone along.
Yeah, without question. Thomas Chabot's probably having a career year, and his offensive numbers are a little bit down from his career high. That being said, look at his plus-minus. It's been absolutely outstanding. Jake Sanderson, offense from the defense, right? And every team has it. Every team wants it. Every team has implemented it into their game. It's just a matter of connecting the dots, basically. And the Senators, certainly as this season has gone on, the Senators have been able to get production from their defense.
Absolutely. And in goal, 2-0 record from Linus Ullmark against the Toronto Maple Leafs, a .960 save percentage and a 1.00 goals against average. Of course, a key going into this series as well.
Yeah, I'm going to skip over the goaltending because you've got on your computer here Michael Amadio with a couple of goals here. Just want to throw him in as well, because the experience in postseason play that was provided to the hockey team by Steve Staios in the offseason is absolutely huge. We've touched on David Perron, and how his game has elevated, right? Michael Amadio again as well. He got off to a slow start this year, but hit his stride at a certain point in the second half, and sky's the limit here right now. He's playing on a checking line that is doing its work in its own end, but 200 feet away from the Ottawa net, they're also providing offense, and Amadio with 2 big goals against the Leafs this year.
And we've brought up Pinto, we've brought up Amadio. An X factor in my mind on that line will be Ridley Gregg, right? A young player who's never seen playoff hockey before. What does he look like? What does he bring to a playoff-style game going into the series? It's going to be interesting to see as they go into that series against the Leafs.
Well, Ridley's slotted in the right spot here right now. He bounced around in the lineup, and I think probably at times too high in the lineup, and I think the coaches have admitted that, only out of necessity, right? They've found a spot for him. I mean, we're calling this perhaps the third line, but more often than not, they're going to start the game with this line, Shane Pinto, Ridley Gregg, and Michael Amadio, and the game near the end of the season against the Montreal Canadiens highlighted and accentuated the importance of this trio. They were there to shut down Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield and Slavkovsky. They did just that. It was a 5-2 Ottawa win. They did just that. That trio did. But they also each chipped in with 2 points apiece. And so when your checking line contributes to the offense and takes away the offense from the other team's top line, you're doing the right thing here. Ridley Gregg is in the right spot, and yes, a very, very valuable piece moving forward.
Absolutely. And now we do have to take a look at the other side, even if we don't want to. But the Toronto Maple Leafs come into this one winning the Atlantic Division. Anthony Stolarz is on their side in net, has been terrific this year, one of the top save percentages in the NHL. A big body, going to be tough to beat him in this series.
Yeah, it's all about greasiness. And the coach has preached that. Travis Green has preached that. The more greasy, look at ugly is beautiful come playoff hockey. You want to be as ugly as possible, in particular in between the dots in the offensive zone. The Senators know that. When they've had success, that's exactly where most of their success has been generated. Anthony Stolarz is a big body, yep, but he can't stop what he can't see. They have to take his eyes away from him. The interesting thing is Anthony won a Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers last year. He's got a little bit of pedigree here now, and he could be an X factor here for the Leafs.
Absolutely. And on the offensive side of things, Marner with a 100-point season, that is, and a great year for William Nylander. Close to 50 goals, didn't quite get there, though, this year. A good year overall for number 88.
Always dangerous when he has the puck.
Even a down year for Matthews, but it's relative, right? Like, still a big year for Austin Matthews, but it's not what we're used to seeing from him. And a couple of big performances for this lethal group. The key is going to be the depth, though, right? They have that top-end talent. What does the bottom six look like? Right. And those matchups going into the series as well. Yeah,
one player that you did not talk about, who I think will be an X factor as well for Toronto, is John Tavares. The experience that he has, at last look, he had 38 goals in the season. So that's a pretty quiet 38 goals for a guy who scored 38 goals, right? With his pedigree, John Tavares will be a huge, huge plus for the Toronto Maple Leafs going into this series.
Absolutely. We'll see what the Sens do to try and match up against John Tavares and that 1-2 punch of Matthews and Tavares down the middle as well. Taking a look back now, once again, round one presented by Bell, but we're going to take a look back on some of the organizational playoff history. And Gord, you've been privy to a lot of magic moments throughout the entirety of the Sens history. And just throwing it over to you, what are some of the key moments that you've seen throughout the years for the Sens in the playoffs?
Playoff hockey or just against the Leafs? Let's just talk playoff
hockey.
We'll talk playoff
hockey, yes.
Honestly, what has to be the most memorable was the 01-02 series between Ottawa and Toronto, series tied at 2. Conference semifinal. Let's set the scene here. Daniel Alfredson takes out Darcy Tucker on the half boards. This is in Toronto, remember? It's a questionable hit. Today it's probably called a hit from behind, but oh my gosh, they got away with it. Alfie leaves those half boards. Darcy Tucker's lying on the ice in pain. He goes to the net. Juha Julonen is behind the net with the puck, and he dishes the puck to Alfredson, kind of fades into the slot and beats Curtis Joseph with, I think, about 2 minutes left to go. 2:01 left to go in that hockey game, and it's a 3-2 Ottawa lead. They'd add an empty netter. They'd win it 4-2. Probably the most memorable of all the playoff hockey that I've seen between Ottawa and Toronto. Game 6, double overtime, 2,000 2004. Mike Fisher scores 147 into the fifth period. Senators force a Game 7. They were outstanding in that series. I mean, this has just been so much fun over the years. A lot of people forget the Senators went to the playoffs 11 consecutive years. How spoiled did the fans in the nation's capital get, right? So coming back here after a 7-year absence, boy, oh boy, it's just going to be absolutely electric. But there have been obviously some memorable and forgettable moments for the Ottawa Senators. Unfortunately, 07 provided a little bit of both, right? Daniel Alfredsson's big goal in overtime in Buffalo on a Saturday afternoon. People were lining the airport parkway upon return, even in the Stanley Cup final against the Anaheim Ducks, losing in 5 games, coming back the next day, thousands of people along the airport parkway to welcome the losing team back. And that's one of the hard things that I found out in this game. They call it a final for a reason, right? It's finality. If you win, it's forever etched in your brain. And unfortunately, if you lose, it's final, right? Yeah. Just a few. I mean, you move forward, you look forward, and can't wait for this series to start.
Oh, can't wait. It's going to be absolutely electric. We'll take a quick break and be right back with some key performers and players to watch going into this series on the Sens 360 Playoff Preview Show. Are you ready? Welcome back to the Sens 360 Playoff Preview Show. Jackson Starr alongside Gord Wilson, and we'll get in some of the players to watch going into the series, and there's a number of them for the Sens. We'll start off on the blue line. Thomas Chabot, a resurgent end to the year for Shabby, and doing a good job going into the playoffs.
You know what? Not just the end of the year. He's been as consistent can be from start to finish here, and having Nick Jensen as his partner from start to finish has been a huge plus. As I said earlier in the show, I think Thomas Chabot is playing the best hockey of his career, and certainly moved, look, at 500 games plus and without a playoff game. I don't think there's a person in this city who has watched what Thomas Chabot has provided to this team over the course of his career, which, as I said, is over 500 games in an Ottawa Senators uniform. I don't think there's a person in the city who's not excited and happy to see Thomas Chabot in postseason play. And, you know, he's been on the big stage before, as I talked about. This is going to be a huge plus to him. No playoff experience, no worries. He's been on a big stage before representing country, and now representing his hometown team. This is going to be fantastic to watch him play.
Oh, absolutely. It's been fantastic. 500 games played, of course, and we could see that emotion after the Columbus game when they did drop that one 5-2, but the mixed emotions clinching a playoff spot. Wasn't a fantastic game for the Senators in that one, but you could see the emotion from Chabot the instant he stepped out of the dressing room.
Yeah, weirdest post-game comments that I've ever received from a player in all the years I've been doing this, a 5-2 loss, and well, congratulations, you're in the playoffs. I shouldn't be smiling, but I am. And you could just see the emotion. You're exactly right. And yeah, I mean, you felt for him too. And I think everybody in that locker room felt real good about Thomas Chabot getting into postseason play, and Brady and others as well who've been here a long time.
Absolutely. And Nick Jensen, of course, having an impact on his play as the season's gone along.
Without question. And that's another thing that we talked about earlier that should be highlighted. The fact that the general manager identified certain situations or certain areas on this team that needed attention. And Nick Jensen coming in, we saw last year that there was an inconsistency on the blue line of pairings, who was going to play with who and where they were going to play right from the get-go. And Thomas Chabot as well admitted at the golf tournament back in September that it was finally an off-season where he was healthy. He was able to train, not recover and condition himself because of an injury. He was able to train, and he knew going in that he was going to be paired with somebody that was a right-side defenseman and lots of experience, and an invaluable addition, I think, was Nick Jensen in the offseason. He's just stabilized everything, and most importantly, I think he's made Thomas Chabot's game that much better.
Absolutely. And jumping up to the top pair, Sanderson and Zub and Jake Sanderson. We highlighted him a little bit earlier, but just a really strong year for the young defenseman.
Yeah, absolutely, and it starts with consistency, right? Paired with Artem Zub. I know there was a stretch where Artem was hurt, and there was a mix and match of pairings, but Jake found his stride. To me, he really hit his stride after the Four Nations tournament. That Four Nations tournament, when he was added to Team USA, really opened the eyes of the hockey world to what Jake Sanderson is capable of. And when you get thrown into a situation like that at 21 years of age, or 22 years of age, you get thrown into a big spotlight situation like that, and you rise to the occasion. It tells you a little something about this young man's character.
It does for sure. And Shane Pinto, we've spoken about him a little bit, but that matchup, who's he going to go up against? The 1-2 punch in the center spot for the Leafs in Matthews and Tavares. Shane Pinto, you'd think he's going to be glued to Matthews' line, whatever that looks like, but still, that matchup's so key for the Senators going into the series.
It's a situation of pick your poison for the Ottawa Senators. There's no question, but I don't think there's any doubt as well that your number one defensive forward is going to be Shane Pinto, and his wingers, Michael Amadio on his right and Ridley Gregg on his left. The fact that Shane elevated his game, look at when he scores, everybody feels good, right? Everybody feels good when they score. Shane Pinto went through a long stretch in the first half of the season where he was not providing the offense that he was hoping to provide. Here he is as a 20-goal scorer, and exactly where he should be offensively, I think. Would he like to score more? Yeah, probably. But what he's doing in shutting down the opposition's best forwards, that's just invaluable.
Absolutely. And on the other side of this as well, we spoke a little bit about Stützle and the 2 goals that he has against Toronto, but the improvement in his defensive game throughout the entirety of the season, that's also going to be a very important X factor going into the series.
Well, and this ties into Travis Green and the coaching staff. It even goes back even further. Second half of last season was Jacques Martin coming in and instilling that win 2-1 mentality, and you've got to play defense to win hockey games and big hockey games. And Travis comes in the offseason, and the sell job that he and his staff have done has been absolutely outstanding. And number one, you need your top players to buy in, right? And Tim Stützle has certainly done that. His 200-foot game has been vastly improved, but you have to have that buy-in mentality. He's realized it, and we've watched his game just take off. And again, leading point producer for the Senators, but at the same time, we're all noting how well he's playing in his own end.
Absolutely. And in the defensive end as well, we spoke about the top 2 D pairings. The third D pairing, Cleven and Mampalo, what it could look like for Game 1, also a very important key going into the series, 2 young defensemen on the blue line.
Yeah, without question. And again, this is just a pairing where you just ask them to go out and breathe, right? Just play their game, and they've been rock solid since being paired together. I think the fact that they got an opportunity to play a lot together in Belleville last year, they provided themselves with instant chemistry when Jacob Bernard Docker got hurt in midseason, and Nicholas Matenpalo got called up, a 26-year-old rookie getting an opportunity to play on an everyday basis in the NHL. He's had his ups and downs, but more ups. The downs have been few and far between. It's going to be a fun pair to watch as well, and they will get some minutes and key moments of the series.
Absolutely, and we also spoke about Linus Ullmark and the key in that, 2-0-0 in his career against Toronto, in the season that is against the Toronto Maple Leafs, 6-5-1 in his career against the Leafs with a .905 save percentage, of course, an X factor going into this one. We'll also take a look at some of the Cup winners the Sens have brought in. We've highlighted the additions that Steve Staios made during the offseason. Those 3 Cup winners in Nick Cousins, David Perron, and Michael Amadio, all of whom have won Stanley Cups and been there in the past, coming in really important aspects of the series.
Yeah, there's no question. Steve Staios said we need some veteran presence, some added help, if you will, veteran presence. David Perron with a Stanley Cup, Michael Amadio with a Stanley Cup, Nick Cousins Sens with a Stanley Cup. And I think in the second half of the season, we have really, really enjoyed what we anticipated to get at the start of the year from all three players. I think, you know what, when you get traded or sign with another team, there is an awful lot that goes into preparing yourself for an upcoming season. Unfortunately for David Perron, he had a lot of external things that he had to deal with. Then he suffered an injury, and he didn't really hit stride until the second half of the season. And boy, he's come as advertised, right? I remember talking to him post-game one day and mentioned the word grind, and his smile lit up the room. He was so excited to be able to talk about what he excels at, the grind game, which is exactly what playoff hockey is. It is a grind, and Perron is the perfect fit for this kind of series. Michael Amadio, the same. Second half of the season, he hit his stride. And you know, well, I talked about one of his games the other day with the coach and said, you want your players to win at least 60% of the 50-50 battles that they're in. Amadio probably won about 95 of them. This is the kind of player he is. He's so hard to play against. He's got such a valuable stick position. Excited to see these players and watch them help others elevate their game. We talked about David Perron. He said something very interesting when asked about what he hopes to provide in postseason play. He said, a little bit of guidance, but at the same time, it's up to the players who haven't had playoff experience to tell their own story or write their own story, and I think that is invaluable.
Absolutely. A very important and captivating message from David Perron and Nick Cousins, who's missed some time as well with an injury, coming back, playing the last 4 or so games of the season, 3 or 4 games of the season, and doing a good job and working his way back. But Travis Green did highlight it's going to be an adjustment for Cousins coming back into the lineup. Yeah,
without question, and he may be in or out of the lineup a little bit throughout the course. That's the way he was in Florida last year in their Stanley Cup run. But again, it's experience and the type of player that he is. He's in your face, which is what playoff hockey is.
And now we'll shift gears over to you, the fans, and where you can see all Sens going on throughout the city during the playoff run. There is Red Mile up and running downtown. We were there on the flag raising at City Hall. A watch party for Game 1 also being held at the Royal Oak in Stittsville. At CTC, inflatables outside, inflatable axe throwing, a food truck, photo ops, a $5 beer option. A live band will be performing, a Sens store pop-up, and face paint. A lot of fun activations going on at CTC during the playoffs.
Fantastic. Hair-raising, spine-tingling. That's what you're doing to me right now here. This is absolutely fantastic. Look, it's been 7 years since a playoff run here for the Ottawa Senators. We may see a new generation here coming to the rink here over the next little while. You're in for a real treat here, folks. Absolute treat. This building is going to get absolutely explosive. There are times when I'm on the air, I'll take my headsets off and just tell the listener beforehand, I'm taking my headsets off because I want to share in this excitement here. And I'm getting excited. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
It's going to be an absolute blast. Amazing energy in the city, a buzz going around. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an electric atmosphere here and down in Toronto as well at Scotiabank Arena. Just an awesome event coming up. Going to be a great time. The Battle of Ontario. Game 1 goes Sunday night from Toronto. The Battle of Ontario again in 2025. Jackson Starr alongside Gord Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us in the Sens 360 Playoff Preview Show.